This is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
All right, I want to welcome everybody to the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Chapter 613. I'm IJ Rosenberg, Najeh Wilkins to my left. To his left, Craig Sager. I want to welcome everybody to the show on Wednesday. Of course, we will be here every weekday from Monday to Friday from noon until 1. And a lot of ways you can pick us up. Of course, you're watching probably right now on the Peachtree Sports Network, which is available on Comcast and YouTube, as well as an over-the-air channel 17.2. You'd be surprised, guys. There's still a lot of TVs that have antennas and stuff like that, especially in South Georgia. So we hope you're watching down there. You can also watch this on the National Federation High School Network, as well as Zeem, which is the new CBS streaming app. It's a national streaming app. It's actually really good. And so a lot of different ways to watch. And National Federation High School Network, Atlanta News First app. So make sure you tune in every day. Want to start the show, of course, 23 years ago, right around this time, a little bit earlier actually. I remember where I was. I'll ask you two guys real quickly where you were for 9/11.
I was 4. I believe I was in school, and I just remember this big buzzer kind of going off. I was real young.
Craig?
6th grade, Dickerson Middle School.
Well, it's interesting. I was actually at Bear Stearns and Wall Street Brokerage House, and I'll never forget it because we were sitting there. We had TV set up everywhere for, different things in the market, CNBC and different indexes and stuff like that. And I'll never forget. I saw, a highlight real quickly of the first tower, and I think everybody thought it was an accident. All right, but then we were just watching intently, and then you saw the second one come in, and you realized that it was not an accident. And we want to certainly thank everybody, especially all the firemen. A lot of people lost their lives in 9/11, so we just want to take a moment, it's 23 years ago, to think about all those that lost their lives and all those that saved lives. All right, so we're going to get to our fast break headlines right now. The first headline is Etowah baseball outfielder Trevor Condon has committed to the Tennessee Volunteers. Condon's in the class of 2026 and really is considered one of the best outfielders in the class. Brett Baseball ranks him as the number 112 overall player in the country and as the 9th best player in Georgia. Etowah, by the way, which he led last season, went 34-5 last year and won 23 consecutive games en route to its first state championship since 2017. They swept Pope, which, as I remember, was a huge upset, 2-0. Etowah was the 6A champion, now has won 2 state championships in school history, but we certainly want to congratulate Trevor on his spot at Tennessee.
Certainly. All right, so let's move on to headline number 2. Today we're going to do our underrated and overlooked segment in segment 5, but if there was a team that is very underrated, it is Ola. They have a chance to improve to 5-0 this Friday night. It would be their first ever 5-0 start. They were 4-0 last year as well, but this year's different. They have Dustin Atkins as a brand new head coach. They're in a 10-team region, so they open region play week 2, and they're coming off a huge win over Jones County. If you look at this Ola team, they still have not given up a single touchdown. They shut out their week 2 opponent. They beat Trinity Christian big, allowed just 3 points, so they're allowing just 2.3 points per game. So wanted to give Ola a huge shout out.
All right, next one.
Yep, let's go to number 3, Lakeside Evans. They had a big road victory last week against their rival Evans. It was the first time they won on the road in 5 tries against Evans. It was a great shutout, and we'll get to him in our underrated and overlooked segment. But quarterback Ty Jones came up huge, 343 all-purpose yards in a big Region 1 Class 5A opener.
And then at number 4, Archer softball Maya Johnson. She breaks Archer's career home run record this past week. She became fast-pitch softball career home leader as the Tigers rolled to a 19-1 victory over South Gwinnett Region 4 6A action on Monday. Johnson, just a junior, was 1 for 1 with a 3-run homer in the victory. It was her 26th of her career, becoming the all-time leader for the Archer Tigers. And then at number 5 is Aline Brown of Lowndes. He ran for 2 touchdowns in their 30-15 victory, one being an 80-yarder, and he also ran for one that was about 40-plus yards out. The senior running back, nicknamed Road Dog, broke off key big runs as he and the Vikings overcame a slow start to push away the Manatee High Hurricanes from Florida. Via the head coach, he says he's such an explosive play kid. Lowndes head coach Adam Carter said of Brown, "You almost come to expect that now. Road Dog broke the game open for us." Brown created lightning early in the second quarter as he broke loose for the 80-yard touchdown, and he also rumbled his way to the end zone another time in the game for a 58-yard burst, denying the Hurricanes a potential 2-for-1 opportunity in the process. He also had a big 26-yard run on 3rd and 7 to put away the game for the Lowndes Vikings in a 30, and it went up 30-7, ended up winning 30-15.
Yeah, and, real quickly, another headline that I do want to throw in there. Loganville coach Gene Cathcart has announced his resignation. He did that late yesterday, citing health reasons. He said it was a tough decision as all get out, but I think it's time for me and my family. It was the right one. The Walton Tribune was the first to report the news. Cathcart said that longtime assistant Stephen Smith will serve as the interim coach. Cathcart was Loganville's coach for less than 2 seasons. Really good coach at Jefferson. In fact, he coached All-American safety Malachi Starks. His Jefferson teams were 49-11 from 2017 to 2021. Career record, 156 and 53. His only state title was at Greenwood, South Carolina in 2012. I know Gene, and certainly want to wish him the best. Couple of other things that I wanted to mention. Seth Ellerby, who we'll have on in the second segment, basically sent me a note this morning. Clayton schools are now not letting kids that don't go to the school to the football game. So, if a kid, wants to try to come to a football game and that's not his school, he's not going to be able to come. This is safety concerns. What we're seeing, and we're seeing this in a lot of counties, is these schools are, especially after the shooting last week, schools are being extremely careful with everything. And guys, I think it's the right move.
Right. Brookwood actually, they kind of rolled this out 2 years ago, where if you're an opposing fan and you're a minor, you have to be accompanied by a parent.
Yeah.
So we've seen other teams do this.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I think it doesn't head off everything, but I think it does help. Real quickly, I want to give a shout out before we go to the GHS, the Football Daily headlines. I want to give a shout out to my buddy, my Corky buddy, and my McEachern friend, all our friends at Score Atlanta. Jimmy Dorsey, his birthday today. I'm not going to tell you how old Jimmy is. Okay, but do we have that picture of Jimmy? We don't have it? Okay. All right. We had a great picture of him, so I'll tell you what. I'll post it on Facebook so everybody can take a look. Jimmy looks really good.
He's central casting for a football coach.
Yeah. All right, Georgia High School Football Daily. This morning, of course, they're our partners. Do a great job every morning. More than 24,000 people have signed up for the newsletter. You can go to the Georgia High School Football Daily and you can sign up. Doesn't cost anything. But this morning they had a really good interview, guys, with Brian Lamar. And I don't know about you, but I'm a big Brian Lamar fan. I just, I think what he did at Tucker, won a state championship at Tucker. Just a really good guy. Was not surprised, though, that he left DeKalb County, went to a Gwinnett school that, that struggled somewhat. But, they've got a huge game this week. I'm glad for him, and it seems like he's really turning things around in Snellville.
Absolutely. South Gwinnett, Najeh's been highlighting a bunch of their players. They're outstanding on the defensive line. Last year they had such a great start. I know it was disappointing, but you look across Gwinnett County, there's some teams that are struggling. I don't put South Gwinnett in that department. I think they have a chance to really do something special this year.
Real quick, Jaden Barker's a name to know. I believe he just received the Georgia offer, so he's starting to kind of get on that radar as well. Yeah. So they got some key players.
No, I remember being at Lakeside and going up there. They were always in our region and going up 78 because the field was right on 78. And playing South Gwinnett. They weren't very good back then, but like I said, I like Brian a lot, and I think he's going to do a good job. All right, highest scoring team in the state. The Daily reported that this morning. Camden County, 56.3 points a game. Craig, how good is Camden County?
Well, I mean, the new coach, that was a big question mark. How is he going to maybe revolutionize this offense? They're going from a completely different system, but he has coached extremely talented players back when he was at Florida at Mainland, and he's been able to maximize them. And you look at the point total, they're sitting a lot of these guys out in the second half. They're running away with it. I cannot wait for Region 1 to get started.
And don't forget to check out the daily for the Maxwell ratings. Right now, region play has only started in 12 of the 56 regions, and the regular season is about a third complete. But Bracket Mania has been simmering for weeks, and if you check there every Wednesday, you can see how Maxwell ranks all the teams. They also have started our basically pitch on the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Featured today was Lauren Hargrove. Basically, he was such a good player. He played up at Fitzgerald, but he was so good that they gave him this car, which I think is awesome.
It's a pretty cool car, too.
That is a pretty cool car. All right, we're going to start this every Wednesday, and that's our question of the day. Actually, we're going to start it every day, right? I think every day. Our question of the day, what is the most popular NFL jersey? And this is also in the daily, and you'll be able to get the answer from us tomorrow, as well as if you pick up the daily in the morning, and you'll see the answer. But anyway, what is the most popular NFL jersey for a player who played high school football in Georgia, according to Flash Picks? Guys, quickly.
Tyreek Hill, maybe?
I'm going to go Calvin Johnson. If we talk about today, I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence.
You know, I can't make a decision between Trevor and Calvin. I'm going to go with Trevor.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
I'm going to go with Trevor.
That's a good pick.
All right. All right, coming up, we've got softball rankings. We found the picture of Jimmy Dorsey. Let's go out with that.
Beginning the morning, we spend every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for what do I need to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today. The Georgia Sheet Metal JETC equips apprentices with the knowledge and skills required to start a rewarding career in the sheet metal industry with programs in HVAC, industrial welding, and testing, adjusting, and balancing. Training is 100% free and allows apprentices to earn as they learn. Journeymen graduate with no student debt and have the potential to earn more than most college graduates. Visit our website to learn more about this opportunity at careersinsheetmetal.com.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know, just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice, the games, right down to their gear. Your people is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sportswear is committed to bringing your team quality sports services with unparalleled performance. You bring a vision. Our team brings it to life. Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Georgia High School Sports Daily, brought to you by IBEW Chapter 613. And every Wednesday at this time, we go to Seth Ellerby, our score correspondent, full-time sports editor, who lives in Macon. Seth, how you doing?
Doing well, IJ. How are y'all?
How's your back, by the way? I know you got some back surgery coming up. And
I
yesterday,
don't really want to talk about it. It's eating my nerves away. But the surgery's the 25th, and I'll do my best.
Well, wishing you
Kind of nervous.
We're wishing
but
you good luck, buddy. Okay.
I appreciate that. It's interesting this week. Last Wednesday after we had the show, Buford lost its first game in almost 2 years. Wesleyan.
Who did they get beat by?
Number 2, Wesleyan in Division One, and I moved them up to number 1 this week. It was a 5-3 loss. Buford had an early lead, but yeah. So I kept Buford. Speaking of the rankings, I kept them at the top of 6A with East Coweta, Brookwood, North Cobb, and Grovetown filling out the top 5. You got North Paulding, Archer, Grayson, Denmark, and Mill Creek kind of filling out 6A there, and in 5A, second-year.
Hey, hold on 1 second. Before you get to 5A, who's your sleeper in 6A, South?
IJ, you asked me that last week, and I'll be honest, I'll be hard-pressed to think that somebody's going to beat the University of Buford, but, it's East Coweta, they're on a run, and I really think that, 6A is going to be dominated by Buford. There's no other way to say it. I think that it's almost to the point where there's not a sleeper.
Well, I'll tell you what's impressive about 6A is just how good Gwinnett County, and I'm counting Buford here because they're a Buford city school, but they are in Gwinnett County. But I mean, you've got Buford, you got Brookwood, you got Archer, Grayson, and Mill Creek. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
I'll when we do the show covering the state championships, if Buford wins, I will not be surprised. I'll just say that. But yeah, moving on, because I've got some stuff to talk about. There's a big event in North Georgia, so let's get through these rankings. I mean, in Class 5A, second year is involved with that big event, number 1 in 5A. Lassiter, East Balding, Pope, Greenbrier, rounding out that top 5 there. Effingham County, Northgate. Houston County, always a good team. Veterans, a local rival to Houston County, just right down the road, number 9. And Alexander's number 10. And Eastside, number 1 in Class 4A with Northside Columbus, which is, that's always a quality program. Harris County and Cartersville. And North Oconee in the top 5 there for 4A. Ola, Wayne County, Allatoona, Kell, and East Forsyth. There's at the top of that's a quality class. And in 3A, Heritage Catoosa is a handful of championships in the last few years. Pickens, Lafayette, West Lawrence, and Southeast Bullock in the top 5, with Peach County climbing up, Cherokee, Bluff, Harlem, Lumpkin County, and LaGrange. In 2A, Appling County and Hebron, always going to be tough competition there, and Cook as well. Morgan County and Pike rounding out that top 5. Sonoraville, Prince, Ave, Rockmart, Franklin County, and Stevens County in the top 10 there. And then Division One, Wesleyan and Gordon Lee at the top of that. And those are 2 powerhouse programs, which we'll talk about here in a second. Banks County, Heard County, and Toombs County in the top 5 of Division One. And Division Two, you got Lanier County, Irwin County, Screven, Glasscock, and Wheeler rounding out the top 5. But speaking of Division One, Gordon Lee, head coach Dana Mull gave me the schedule for an event they're having this Friday and Saturday called the Score International Invitational. They're hosting at Warner Park in Chattanooga, and Gordon Lee will face in Division One. They are 10-1, 5-0 in region, and they will take on top-ranked Wesleyan, 12-0, 5-0, and that's Friday. That's a huge game. That's championship caliber stuff. Gordon Lee's won 6 titles consecutively from 2015 to 2020 and has 11 total. From 2010 to 2020, it only missed out in 2014 on a championship, so they are a powerhouse. And then Wesleyan is a 3-time defending champion, has 5 championships all since 2017. And then on Saturday, Gordon Lee is going to face 5A number 1 second year. So, when you're facing a number 2 or a number 1 ranked team on Friday and a number 1 ranked team from 5A on Saturday, and you're from Division One, it's a pretty big weekend. So it'll be exciting to follow that. Last night there were some decent results. Buford, number 1 in 6A, beat number 10 6A Mill Creek 9-1. Class 5A Lambert beat number 10 Denmark 3-2. That was only Denmark's third loss of the season. So that's a pretty interesting result. Eastside Class 4A beat number 10 East Forsyth 2-1. And in 6A, number 6 North Paulding barely beat Walton 8-6. So, kind of interesting results there. But looking forward to this weekend with the event up there in Chattanooga. Granted, it looks like we've got some weather coming in, and Coach Moll's worried about it. So we'll see how that event plays out. But yeah, going through the through the rankings, it's just talent across the board, and in some classes it's tough to tell who should be number one, who should be up at the top versus a few that are kind of dead set. So
Seth, explain to me, because I think this is the only sport, or at least team sport, that it comes into effect. But in softball, there is no private school classification, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's Division I and Division II, and that is that's how it's set. So
the teams. So in that situation, because of all these teams that play, the private school teams that are playing in Class A to 3A, basically, how does it work? I mean, like did they pick? What did they end up just falling in the classification that they would fall in otherwise for softball if they play softball?
Well, like for instance, Wesleyan, after reclassification, they were 3A last year, right, and moved down to to Class A Division I.
Division I, right?
Yes, sir. So, it falls how they're gonna fall there. It seems that most of the private schools, I believe, are more so in Division I, but I would have to do a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in softball, that's just one sport where a lot of the private schools don't show up. Seth, answer me. We're talking to Seth Ellaby, of course, who is our Score Atlanta sports editor. He works out of Macon for us, which is great to have somebody in South Georgia. Seth, how many girls are moving on from Georgia to Division I programs? ESPN's done a fantastic job with softball, covering the tournament, really have made it very popular, both on the high school and the college level. But are a decent amount of girls moving from Georgia to some of these better Division I softball teams?
That's an interesting question. I don't know exactly, and I can do something on that next week. But I would imagine, I mean, Georgia is so competitive. If you look at the Max Preps rankings right now, shoot 6, 8 of the top 20 schools, if not more. And I know that they are pumping a lot of players into the Division I ranks. I don't have an exact number, but I will search that up. That would be something interesting to talk about. But as competitive as it is, there's no doubt it's probably on the level that football does, which, I mean, we all know that the quality of the football teams here.
One quick question, before we let you go.
Yeah.
Let's talk just a little bit about and shine a little bit of light on some of these players. Who have been some impressive players this season in softball that you can kind of highlight?
I mean, at this point, it's I have, let me see, I can pull up a few notes from last week. I don't have them in front of me, but I will do a better job of next week highlighting some players more so than just an event in the rankings. So that's my shortcoming there. Sorry about that, Najeh.
No, that's fine. No, Seth, just, like I said, this is a new show, buddy. We're all learning every day. So we want to continue to build. And, maybe what we do is just come up with a big, couple of softball all-stars every week. Real quickly, speaking of softball, I put this in the morning daily this morning, and that is, if you want to announce your decision, I don't care, softball, whatever sport, if you want to announce your decision live on TV, give us a call, all right? Graham David, 513-600-6557, and we'll put you right here, family, coaches, and everything. All right, we'll be right back.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, we're back. Georgia High School Sports Daily, every day from noon to 1 here on the Peachtree Sports Network. IJ Rosenberg, Najeh Wilkins in here today. We'll also have Craig Sager in the last segment. Coming up after this segment, we'll do our typical middle school spotlight. But let's bring in friend Keith Maloof. Keith, longtime football coach at Norcross High School, has done a great job, won a couple of state championships. In fact, 2 of his trophies are in the helmet wall case at MBS. He won back-to-back championships, had great teams, had some great running backs then. Good guy, grew up with him, know the family well. Keith, how you doing? Welcome on Georgia High School Sports Daily.
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having us on.
No, we appreciate it. Keith, talk a little bit about, you opened the season with a win over Lanier. Of course, that was the matchup against your son, which was interesting. I know you're glad that's over with. You won that game 31-10, came back, played a good game. I mean, it was a good game against Mill Creek. You lost 21-10. A couple of mistakes hurt you. But then you came back last weekend, and for the first time in a long time, somebody put a pretty good whipping on Walton, 41-14. Now, they made some mistakes in that game, but y'all certainly took advantage of them, Keith.
Yes, I mean, it's one of those things. We know defensively we're really good. Our offense is learning our identity because we had to replace 4 or 5 offensive linemen. All our skilled guys are back on offense with Dylan, taking AJ's place. But Dylan, played a good bit last year. We moved AJ around. So, he had 1,000 yards passing, about 300-400 yards rushing last year. So we consider him a returning starter coming back at quarterback. So offensively, we knew it was going to take us a little bit of time to get going because our offensive line's so young. But defensively, our box is pretty special. All those guys are back except one guy, but they have a lot of experience. And there's 3 3-year starters on defense. Jalen Brown at defensive end, Lionel Burns at corner, and Asias Tompkins at linebacker. So that's a lot of experience in 6A football with guys starting their sophomore year and playing for 3 years. So we had to replace a few at the back end, at corner and at safety, and we knew they would come along. So defensively, we're just flying around and we're just running to the ball. And, as well, y'all know as well as I do, you've been around football long enough to know, if you run to the ball and you're getting to the ball, good things are going to eventually happen, and taking advantage of people's mistakes, which we created a lot of those mistakes, but also at the same time, we took advantage of what Walton was giving us.
We're speaking to longtime Norcross coach Keith Maloof here on the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. Keith, let's get into your region schedule a little bit. You'll open that this week against Duluth at Norcross. And, it's a tough region. I mean, you got Peachtree Ridge, Meadow Creek, Parkview, Berkmar, North Gwinnett, and Brookwood. I mean, that's like a Southeastern Conference run there, Coach.
Well, when we started off with Lanier, we played, like you said, Mill Creek, a really good Mill Creek team, and we were in it. It was 14-10 with, 14-7 with about a quarter left, and we're on the goal line, got a holding penalty, so we had to get a field goal instead of a touchdown, and that hurts in a game like that. And then they eventually scored to make it 21-10 with 3-4 minutes left to go in the game. But our kids played great. We just didn't finish that game. Made a few mistakes, like you said, and we built off them. And, we were able to go into Walton and play a great game against a really good Walton football team. Like you said, our region schedule, that's why I do that at the beginning of the year to set us up for our region schedule, which is brutal, with North Gwinnett and Peachtree Ridge now. They're a really talented team. It was us 3 basically last year with Duluth, who's coming up. Cam's doing a good job at Duluth. So, you've got some quality opponents in there. And now you bring in Brookwood and Parkview, powerhouses over the years, to our region. So we've got to be prepared week in and week out. Duluth is coming in here 2-1. They're hot. The only team they lost to was Centennial, who's 4-0 right now. And we know it's going to be a ball game, and our kids have to be ready for it week in and week out. What we've done prior to this means nothing, except we know we've got a good football team moving forward, and we've got to play week in and week out.
Coach, I want to revisit the defensive side of the ball and highlight a player. Ezekiel Theodorus, he had a big game for you. He had 16 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a fumble return for 80 yards for a touchdown. What does he mean to this defensive unit that you have?
Well, he falls right in line with all those great linebackers we've had, over the years with, Jalen Garner that's at Houston. You got Zakai Barker at East Carolina right now. Andre Tompkins last year, who's at Morehouse. It's just the middle linebacker for us is so important, and that's our leader of our defense. He's the bell cow of our defense. Besides a couple of guys in the secondary, Lionel. But Ezekiel has done all the things the right way. He's on leadership council. He does community service. He's just one of those outstanding young men that, man, anybody is going to love to have in his football program, because this kid is very, very special. The week before against, Mill Creek in a loss, he had 18 tackles. That's a lot in 2 ball games against 2 physical teams that are really good in the top 5 at the time, and considered top 10 teams. And Zeke is just one of those physical, hard-nosed players that gets himself around the ball all the time.
Now, Coach, I want to ask you about some of your playmakers. Jamari Harrell kind of had his coming out party last year in our Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. So if you can, talk a little bit about what he's been up to so far this year and what he's been able to do, and also Deshaun Sauce Clark, who's also another big playmaker for you.
Well, Jamari had he made 3 or 4 good catches in the first game, and he's been injured. He tweaked his ankle early at the scrimmage, so he really hadn't been full speed the last 2 games. People are doubling him, and Sauce Clark has been open, so he's really flourished by people overloading on Jamari. But we look for Jamari to have a breakout game these next couple of games, because people are now focused on Clark. So that's the special thing about those skill guys. We got 3, 4 that are pretty special, that you can't just lock down on one. If you lock down on one, the other ones are going to come free. And our running back, Kobe's benefiting from those guys being really good at receiver, because now our running game opens up a little bit more also.
Keith, we're backing up on a break real quickly. You have to be really proud of what you built at Norcross, but the Georgia High School Football Daily Morning Newsletter came out and talked about all the players in the NFL, and of course Norcross is right at the top. But is it a lot of fun to follow those kids in the NFL, the Alvin Kamaras, the Lorenzo Carters?
Yeah, Lorenzo comes around a good bit, probably the most of anybody right now. And he comes and talks to these kids all the time. And we enjoy watching them. We talk about them. And, it's really fun to watch them on Sundays. And it's fun to keep up with the other ones to see what they're doing also, after their pro careers are over. We're at the upper end of about 12 right now. You got Robert Beal at San Francisco also. And you've got Jake Camarda punting for Tampa Bay, along with Lorenzo and Alvin. So we're excited about those 4, and excited to be at the top in the state with a couple other programs, high school programs in Georgia. It's always good to hear our name at the top when it comes to colleges and NFL.
Well, Keith, we appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on all your success, and please, best to your huge family and your brother. All right?
Thank you so much, guys, for having us on. We appreciate it.
All right, Middle School Spotlight is next.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? People have your back in the heat of the battle. Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship program to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
A journeyman will look late 5. When you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs. I want to take college where I want to, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
All right, we're back here on the Georgia High School, I say it football all the time. Georgia High School Sports Daily, brought to you by IBEW, Chapter 613. Want to welcome in for our middle school portion of the week, and that's Alex Benson, Born to Compete. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
What's new this week on the middle school? Anything stand out to you this last weekend?
Yeah. So you had a great game between Decula and Buford. Decula was able to win that ball game. Valdosta and Coffee played down south Georgia football. Valdosta won. And let me see, we had one more big upset. Eagles Landing lost to Dutchtown in overtime. So some good games out there. The top 20 has moved around, which I'm sure we're about to put the rankings on up.
Yeah, let's go on and get the rankings up and start talking about them. We've got North Clayton that continues to be in that number 1 spot. So let's talk about the first 5. North Clayton, John Lewis, Invictus, Rome, Crawford, and Decula.
Well, I want to talk about North Clayton. First off, North Clayton's won back-to-back state championships in the championship series, right? They've beaten the best of the best teams out there within the state that want to come play. Now you have a guy named Rome Samuels. You'll love this. He'll be on your radar soon. You guys covering high school football. Rome is probably about 6'4" now, a little bit above 280. That's what he says. Might be a little higher, all right? But he's a fantastic player. Has quick twitch athleticism in him, can get off the ball, but I think personally he'll make his money when that time comes on the offense side of the ball. At least that's what I would hope.
Rome Samuels.
Yeah, Rome Samuels.
Okay.
Get ready.
All right.
You're going to know who he is. Mama's going to be the loudest.
Need to let George Tech know about it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I did want to ask you in the rankings as we go through 6 through 10.
Yeah.
Eddie White moved up for you. They were number 10. They are up to number 7 now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Thompson's ahead of them. Then got Buford, Cedar Grove, and Milton. So, as a 2-part question, why did Eddie White move up for you? What impressed you about them? And talk about the Milton Eagles with Landon Gia, who's obviously very impressive.
Yeah, we talk about him a lot, right? Landon Gia, our number 1 player in the state of Georgia right now. First off, I'll address the Eddie White. People lost in front, so they moved up. That's really what happened.
Gotcha.
And they're dominating down there in Clayton County. Everybody's waiting for North Clayton and Eddie White to play, and when they play, obviously it's going to be a packed house, and it'll be a good environment down there for them.
Yeah,
now,
Alex, speaking of crowds, because I remember coaching over at Centennial Middle School. I mean, it's amazing how many people will show up for the middle school games.
Yeah, you know what? I tell you what. When we first started, not a lot of people showing up at the middle school games. So once you add in rankings, player of the year, the different things we do at our gala, it brings energy and excitement, and parents want to be there, right? They start spending money down at the middle school level. What I mean spending money is they're spending money on training. They're spending money on everybody buying the right color shirts, So all these things are happening, so they have more invested.
Real quickly, I had breakfast yesterday morning with Hadley Engelhardt, who's a local NFL agent here.
Okay.
And we were talking about a lot of things, how talking about the transfer portal and NIL in college, but how things are moving down. And Alex, how fast it's happening. I mean, and I guess someday there'll be NIL at middle school.
Possible.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, I think that, colleges are going that low to find them, but I mean, it's just happening so quickly. Is it happening too quickly?
I don't think so, because, I'm a former college football player, and what I say, if ever in time you can make some money, then please make some money, because you don't know when your last snap is. Your last snap could be in practice. Your last snap could be in a game. So we just don't know. So if there's a moment out there you can make some money, make the money.
All right, let's go back to the rankings real quickly so we can take a look. At number 6, Thompson, Eddie White. At 7, Buford, Cedar Grove, Milton. Sort of rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, we got to talk about Milton. Milton, they would give me a hard time if I don't talk about them weekly. That is how they're doing over there. Landon G, our number 1 player in the state of Georgia, 6'4", 6'5"-ish. His brother Ryan G is going to Auburn.
Yep.
Auburn. Landon wants to be a lineman. He is the left tackle right now in the state of Georgia and around the country. Everybody loves him. He's won Player of the Year every single year, and he probably has a good chance to win it this year unless somebody shows differently.
Certainly. And then you had a Player of the Week. His name is Ryan Perry. I've seen him on Born and Compete on your Instagram page. Tell us a little bit about him. What impressed you about him this week?
All right. How do you judge quarterbacks, right? You judge them in the fourth quarter and when times are down.
Yeah,
they're down 7-0. They haven't had a first down really all game long. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, or messing around. But he moves the ball, helps get the ball down the field. Late in the game, they score a touchdown. He gets a 2-point conversion. They beat a great Buford team 8-7, which nobody came in the season thinking Decula would be that good, but they are. And good for them. They're playing at a high level, and Ryan Perry, who I've known since the kid was 6 years old, continues to play at a high level.
All right, so we have some highlights.
Let's get to it. We got the Red Breeze and Miami Garden Ravens.
All right, let's get some highlights on.
All right, Rare Breeze, Miami Garden Ravens. Here from Rare Breeze, Zach Watts, fantastic ball player. He's an Under Armour All-American as well. He'll be in our All-American game doing a great job. Vincent Mosley to Stephen Griffin. Watch this catch in the back of the end zone. He says a couple of other things to let you know he is really that guy, but we kind of got up out of there. We edited that out. All right, Vincent to Pharrell Woodside. He has a Miami offer. Fantastic player. I know the highlight's coming up. Or did we cut that out?
We get
Let's
that.
see. Here we go. There he goes. Has a Miami offer. He is absolutely legit. And another kid with a Miami offer, Derek Jones. Here's the thing. Miami Garden Ravens was up 22-6, and you're about to see a quick comeback here. Ty Nolan, a running back that a lot of people are starting to pay attention to. Look how big he is. Big body.
Goodness.
Yeah. Big body running through the hole right there. Scores another touchdown. It will be 28-22. Number 1 versus number 2. Rare Breeze beat Miami Garden Ravens, and there you go. They win the game. But here's an interview by, let me get his name right, Janari Bryan.
Right. Alex, I think what's important is what you just did, and that is great because I think these kids, when they learn to do interviews early, okay, I'll never forget us doing an interview with a big kid from, I think it was Hughes, when he was in the 8th grade, or when he was in 9th grade, he was a starter, but he had no experience, so it was all one-word answers. But I think it's important for these kids, especially the ones that are getting the attention, okay, to understand how to interview, to talk properly. I know Born to Compete works with kids like that, don't they?
We do. Because the main thing, you want to be the total package, right? Look at Tyler Atkinson. You're talking about a guy, number 1, can play, got the look, got great look on him.
Very humble.
But then when you put the camera in front of him, he can be a pitch man, right? He's franchise. That's what we call those guys. They do a great job. Julian's doing a great job. So one thing we want to make sure is, look, we're going to do the best we can to promote you, right? We're going to put the camera out there. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But when that time comes for you to be in a position to take advantage of your athletic ability financially, then let's go ahead and do that.
And Alex, I mean, and I know this is important to Born to Compete, especially with the world has changed quite a lot in the last few years, especially since COVID. But teaching these kids the right things.
Yes.
Making sure that they understand that the opportunities they have means that they should not do certain things and be careful and try to stay out of, trouble. Because that's, as much as it is to teach these kids on the field, it's also to teach them off the field.
Well, a lot of those volunteer coaches don't get enough credit, in my opinion, because they're volunteer coaches. They show up every week to coach those kids and do the best they can off the field to try to help them. Because think about it, they only get 6 hours a week with them, right? 6 hours a week, then game time. And so there's only so much time you can put in with them. Hopefully, a lot of those lessons that they teach with the good coaches can hopefully, be, reinforced at home. Because some of these coaches are picking kids up. They're providing some meals for them. Heck, even buying some shirts sometimes. Shirts are clothes that go on their body. So all credit goes to them, and they do a wonderful job.
Real quickly, what's coming up for Born to Compete?
Well, we have our trial coming up, September 29th. We're excited about it.
Where is that at?
NYO Field. We're going to be out there, and we're going to have a good time. And, we're going to see the next group of All-Americans come through, and we'll see. You coming?
Yeah, of course.
We got it? See?
I mean,
See? Come on now. I got IJ right.
I'm getting it down. All right, I'm getting it down. We've got Alex. Thank you. We always appreciate you coming on the set, teaching us new things. All right, we're going to be back. We're going to be back with underrated and overrated. That was good.
That was good.
Thanks,
Good stuff.
Alex.
No
I
problem.
like the flavor you
y'all.
add, man.
No problem. Now, here's the thing.
Gotta figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
That IJ, just remember it's underrated and overrated.
My bad.
Go to Najee first, and then we'll start the list.
Yep.
1 minute back. Just a reminder, when we need to wrap this segment, we wrap it up. 30 back. Tomorrow we'll have our side spotlight and resting. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 15.
Welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm Najeh Wilkins. To my right, IJ Rosenberg. To my left, Craig Sager. And we're going to get into underrated and overlooked. But before we get there, we're going to start, first and foremost, with Gainesville players. I got a chance to see them this morning. We're going to start with the quarterback, Kareem Hughley. Just a sophomore, but is a true glue guy for the group and already has the respect of his teammates. Let's roll it. Real quick about Hughley, he had a great performance in our Gainesville versus Westlake game that was on Peachtree Sports Network, throwing for 5 touchdowns and had a breakout performance. First 4 games have been on the road and have a big one against Carrollton. The next guy is Judah Knight, DB, a little undersized, but does not play like it. Certainly packs a little bit of a punch and hits very, very hard. Let's roll that as well. So 2 underrated guys, as you guys can see right there. Doesn't get a lot of love, but I'm telling you, this is the reason why Gainesville is 3-0. Obviously, Xavier Griffin gets a lot of the credit. So does Julius Columbus, but those 2 guys definitely do it as well. But we're going to go ahead and start it up. I'm going to toss it to Craig to go ahead and get it started with underrated and overlooked.
All right, my first guy, we're going to get to see him this Friday night. That is Douglas County linebacker Mike Hasty. He does also play a little bit at running back. He's averaging about 10 yards a carry, but he's coming off a huge performance in the win over Hughes. And then the week prior, he was Douglas County player of the game against Newton. So he's had back-to-back really impactful games. So watch out for number 5 this Friday night.
All right, who's next? We
All
got
right,
Cal
up
running
next.
back Mooney Gibson.
Yes, he's only a sophomore, Mooney Gibson. And what stands out about him this season, he's taking a lot of carries. He had 22 carries in that win over North Atlanta in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. And then this past week, a big performance against Wheeler, 31-13 win. He had 127 yards and 2 touchdowns once again off 22 carries. So on the year, he's definitely on pace for about a 1,200-yard season. All right, next guy, Lakeside Evans quarterback DB Ty Jones. We talked about him a little bit with Lakeside, but in this last game, I really like players that not only are playing quarterback, but they're going on the defensive side also. He's a big-time basketball prospect as well, 14 points per game. But in this most recent one, 202 yards and a touchdown through the air. He rushed for 101 yards on 13 carries. He's rushed for over 100 every single game this season. And he also had 9 tackles defensively. Big impact player, doing it all for Lakeside Evans. My next guy, Norcross, is Zeke the Freak, Theodorus for Norcross. Coach Maloof was probably talking about the motor this guy has. He is averaging about, I think, 13 tackles per game. In the win over Walton, he came up huge with the big 80-yard fumble return for a touchdown and had 16 tackles and earned Gwinnett County Defensive Player of the Week. And then finally, Fellowship Christian, wide receiver and DB Evan Haynes. I really like this guy. He had a huge breakout season. He recently committed to UNC on his 17th birthday. And he's a big guy, 6'3", 200 pounds. He plays both sides of the ball, but he returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown this last week. That's just like bonus film for him to show that he can also just see the field, have that breakaway speed. And in the most recent win, he had 114 yards, 2 touchdown receptions, and, of course, the kickoff return touchdown.
Then at number 6, North Oconee quarterback Harrison Faulkner. It was 18 for 25, 301 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He really caught my eye in our Corky Kell Dave Hunter 707 Invitational at Georgia Tech, lighting it up for the Titans. And they got a big game coming up this week against Jefferson. That is the name to know and the name to watch this upcoming week.
And his dad's the offensive coordinator,
Yes,
the OC
sir.
at Georgia Tech.
Faulkner. Yes, sir, he is. All right, and then number 7 is going to be from Burke County, Qua Morris. He had a career night. He's just a true freshman coming to the game. Only had 2 tackles. He finished with 7 solo tackles, 5 assists, and a tackle for a safety. So this is a guy to continue to watch. Very young, but really good. Number 8 is going to be Savannah Christian Zoe Small, season high 214 yards and a season high 4 touchdowns in a win against Oceanside Collegiate Academy, South Carolina on Friday night. He has rushed for 613 yards and 11 touchdowns so far. And then at number 9, you have Warner Robins quarterback Skylar Williams, 5 touchdowns, 305 rushing and passing yards in their 55-44 victory against Houston County. Moving on to number 10, we got a chance to see him at Media Day, and that's Bryce Whitley. He had 6 catches for 82 yards and also had a kickoff return for a touchdown with 88 yards and a 33-28 loss to Dodge County. And last but not least, Ringo wide receiver Kashawn Taylor. He had a 31-yard touchdown pass on the first play of the 4th quarter to tie the game up. He also had a 70-yard touchdown reception that came from running back Zach Growler. And Taylor finished with 4 catches for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns for Ringo.
All right, a couple of things we've got coming up. We've got the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Flag Classic. That's October 2nd. We've got 4 games. They'll be right here on Peachtree TV. We'll be at West Forsyth High School for that. We're excited. I think Flag's cranking up this week, isn't it, guys?
Yeah. So, and October 2nd looks like the big week.
And let me tell you this. On our scoreboard, okay, which we have every day of the week, you can look at any of the scores. We do, of course, live as far as Friday nights and the football games and stuff like that. But we are adding flag football to that. So hopefully Friday, if not Friday, the next Friday, we'll have flag football at that. And, of course, we've got our huge game Friday night on PSN at 8 o'clock. Will be about 8:07 kickoff. We've got Buford and Douglas And as we get closer to that, I think I think we'll have the Douglas coach on coming up in the next couple of days.
Johnny White, yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a heck of a football game.
Any early picks?
On that one?
Not yet, yeah.
I'm going with Douglas.
Yeah.
Douglas, I love that stadium. I love the way they play at home. I'll let you two guys pick the next couple of days. So, all right. Well, don't forget, you can check us out every afternoon, Monday through Friday from noon until 1. I want to thank Najee and Craig, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Basic combat training is a 10-week experience that will challenge you both physically and mentally. Each phase of your training will introduce you to new soldier skills, building and advancing them along the way. You and your fellow soldiers will work as a team to accomplish each mission, overcome each obstacle, and earn the right to wear the black beret of an Army National Guard soldier.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions. In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply